Joe, Vanderbilt, who's coming off of a win versus Missouri, the 7-1 Vanderbilt Commodores. I never thought I'd say that, but here we are. Goes up against the Texas Longhorns this week. Joe, I guess the big question going into this one, and as we talk about the Texas Longhorns versus Vanderbilt, what is the health status of Arch Manning? The concussion protocol, what's going on there? But when you preview this game, how do you see it playing out?
So we got cut off yesterday when I was giving this point with the BK news. I was talking about the luck, a lot of things going Vanderbilt's way. I said how it reminded me of TCU a couple years ago, where a lot of things keep going their way. Of course, after Arch Manning has his best game yet, storms back, puts that team in a position to win the ball game, he is in concussion protocol. Blake, I'm not the biggest fan of doing the bit where you put a quarterback into a game after he spent the entire week in concussion protocol, because a quarterback's game plan is the most mental out of any position. If he can't really watch film because he's got concussion symptoms and he can't get the mental reps on the field to get the looks in front of him, I can't really act like he's going to play. And if he does play, if it'll be at a high level. We already watched Lenore Sellers try to do this, and he was a little shaky against Missouri when he attempted to jump on the field. He had some pretty big plays in that game, but one wonders if he wasn't coming off of concussion protocol, how things would have been different. I digress. Blake, this game, just from logic, Vanderbilt continues to defy it. But if there is a team that is the best defensively equipped to slow down Diego Pavia, it has to be the Texas defense. Third in EPA per rush allowed. They have one of the best, and it doesn't get enough recognition, front sevens in the sport. Speed everywhere. Talent everywhere. And they're getting overlooked because they've had a couple of bad performances. The Mississippi State game wasn't pretty, but they held, I didn't even realize this, they held Mississippi State to 63 yards. It's not the pass defense, and I'm not really threatened by the Vanderbilt passing attack as much as I am by their run game. So, Blake, I'm leaning Texas at the current moment. They're -1.5 on FanDuel. I know Vanderbilt fans are excited to hear that because I keep picking against them and I keep being wrong. But at the same time, if someone's going to slow them down, it has to be Texas. It's the only thing that makes sense.
What if Arch Manning doesn't play in this game and they look better offensively?
I tell you what, Caldwell stepped into the game and he had a great throw.
One throw doesn't mean a whole lot, but
he did it. What was the other game that he did this? It was the Florida game, I think. He stepped in, he had a couple really good throws, and then he stepped in for the touchdown pass that he threw against Mississippi State.
I mean, listen, I get it. I want to see a kid play an entire game, but it would be very interesting to see what happens here. Joe, here's the truth about this that nobody wants to give Vandy credit for. They are better up front. And I don't think anybody wants to admit yet, and it's hard for people to admit how physically imposing they have been to the teams that they have played, regardless of what you think of them from a national perspective. Let's just talk about the teams that they've played. They physically imposed them. They did go toe-to-toe with Alabama, and those guys were a little bit more physically imposing. And listen, that is okay. But when we're talking about this, Bama's on a different level right now than offensively than where Texas is. And so for that reason alone, Joe, I've seen them go up against Alabama. I've seen them go up against LSU. I've seen them go up against Missouri. I've seen them go up against teams that a lot of people are like, oh, was this the week that Vandy gets clipped? And I'm saying to myself, I don't know. I think that they are, and they just keep winning. You know, everybody wants to not justify their win versus Missouri because Bo Prabula got hurt right before halftime. I get it, I guess. Like, I guess I understand it, but they came up with a fourth down stop, and he didn't get in the end zone. I mean, he played half of that game literally, and they forced him out of the game. And listen, I'm not trying to I don't mean that in any wrong way or ill will towards him. But I do think you're on to something here. At what point do you look at this team and say, look, man, this team has better athletes in Texas. They got a lot of really good dudes on defense, and they do. In Missouri, who nobody wants to give credit for either, that defense is really good, and they were limiting them offensively through a lot of different things. I like Clark Lee, man, and I like what this team has done. I think that this one is going to go down to the wire yet again. I don't have any clue who to pick because I think this one's going to be a slugfest. And I think that the quarterback that makes the better decisions, whether it be Pavia, Manning, or a backup for Texas, is going to win it. I just don't know if I trust Texas enough offensively. And ironically, I feel like I trust Diego Pavia a little bit more here because I don't know what to expect from the quarterback situation. I have no clue. Maybe Caldwell comes in. Maybe Arch clears concussion protocol and he comes into play. None of us know that when we're talking about this on a Monday. I don't know. I don't think that Vandy's going to be able to line up and run it on him, and I think that you're going to make Diego Pavia throw it. And if that's the case, I don't trust him either. That's why this one's so intriguing to me. Of all, like you mentioned, I think it was spot on. Of all the teams that have played Vanderbilt, I do think that they have the more imposing athlete that can take over here. People don't want to say this either. Texas isn't out of this. No, they're not. I mean, they have 2 losses. And by the way, only one of them is in conference. So they are playing for everything that they have here too. So we'll see. But, man, this Vandy team, I got to give them credit. Joe, they're 31st in total defense. They're 18th in run defense. They're 9th in third down defense. They're 24th in scoring. The only bad thing is their secondary has been god-awful. And so I say all that to say this. Can a backup quarterback or Arch Manning, who has had struggles throwing the football, throw in a secondary that's been suspect in Vandy, even though when Missouri tried to and they couldn't do it?
Right. This is the biggest swinging point for me in this game, where you have a really bad passing offense for Texas and a really bad pass defense for Vanderbilt. 103rd in EPA per pass for Texas on offense, 112th on defense for Vanderbilt in the same category. That is going to be whoever finds success in either area is going to produce a win. And it's more so just like if Texas can actually string together some big plays through the air, is that enough for Vanderbilt to collapse? I don't think that's the case. I think, as you said, I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be kind of just as we watched with the Missouri game, where that game was tight. It was physical. It was high energy, and it was very dramatic towards the end of it. One thing that definitely bodes well for Vanderbilt, and I think that we've seen so far for this team this year, is that they are incredibly solid defensively, and it shows up with the fact that they're only allowing 37% on third downs. I think with the inefficiencies with Texas's offense and the inability for them to finish drives, that has to apply in here to some extent, where you're going up against a defense that just does not allow teams to convert on third down, and you yourself as a team are struggling at that as you are 38% on third down. I think that there's going to be a lot that goes into this game. I think either team can win this, but I lean Texas because their defense should be able to prevail. And if it doesn't, then we can turn the page on Texas. And
it's not about them prevailing. Here's the problem. There's a counter argument to this, though. How do they score? Because Texas is constantly finding – Joe, when I look at Texas, all right, you're 96th in the country in rushing. You're 64th in the country in passing. You're 84th in the country on third down. Oh, by the way, if you just look at the P4 games that you've played, you're not averaging over 25 points per game. I got to be real with you. Vandy can get there on you. Newsflash, they can get there. However, where's this game being played? It's not in Nashville. It's in Texas. We'll see. This Vandy team keeps proving people wrong, and I think we gotta see if they can do it again. I don't know right now. I'm not picking the game on Monday. I kind of want to see what happens with the Arch Manning news.
Yeah,
I just don't trust Texas offensively right now, even with Arch Manning playing. And so for that reason, I got to see this Caldwell kid play. I got to see what they do at quarterback before I just don't have the faith in them right now, so I guess we'll see.
Well, and one thing that of past evidence why it continues to a continued case for Vanderbilt in this game, the LSU game that they played. LSU couldn't keep up with them. And Vanderbilt dominated time of possession early. Defense wore down. Is that how you win? Is keeping the defense out there on the field as long as possible and confusing the hell out of them with all your different run plays that are just too complicated for most young defensive players to read. Is that how you're able to get this typically solid Texas run defense to break? Is that how you get them to crack and to start to crumble? I also think, as you just talked about there, though, Texas has to get their run game going. And I don't know if is Baxter coming back? When is he coming back?
Came back last week.
His impact was non-existent because I'm sure that he's probably not completely fully healthy, but they need Wisner and Baxter to be as impactful as possible in this game. They can't rely on Caldwell to throw the ball 25 plus times. They just can't. They have to find a run game somehow. And last year, this is the craziest part, is they did the same shit last year. They couldn't run the ball, so they got creative. Why did you go away from those things? Why did you stop going to your backs in space? Why is that suddenly felt like it's not been as much of an option for you? Instead, you're running into a brick wall every single time you try to run the ball.
You keep giving this team more confidence in Vanderbilt, you're going to get your ass whooped. You're going to get your ass whooped. I mean, offensively speaking, Joe, they're 12th in the country in points per game. Like, we got to get to the point where, okay, well, they played a soft schedule, whatever. I mean, I'm kind of getting to a place where, all right, well, somebody prove that you can slow them down, because I don't know if Texas can. I don't know if you can score enough, ironically. If you can find ways to not be able to score versus Florida or Kentucky, Vanderbilt's not the team that you can do that to. Both of those games were on the road, and now you're at home. You've played a little bit better when you're at home, and that might be your advantage here. So we'll see. All right.
Yep.
Let's move on here to the last game.